There are a record number of RVs on the road right now, but there are not a record number of RV roadside providers. What does this mean for you? Stay tuned and we're going to break it down.
We are Charity, Ben, Dakota, and Trinity. We decided we didn't want to wait for a life of adventure. So in 2017, we bought our first RV and set off to live a life of travel in the USA. We've visited over 38 states in 3 years and have many more to go. Follow along to learn all the best places to see, RV and travel tips, and much more.
So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. We recently read an article from rvtravel.com about the whole state of the union, so to speak, when it comes to roadside assistance and RVing. And we wanted to make a video because we have personally experienced what is going on this past summer when it comes to roadside assistance and RVing. And now we'll tell you about that a little bit later in the video, but suffice it to say, when we kind of read some of this, it totally resonated with us. And we wanted to share this information with you guys out there because it could potentially impact each and every one of you. So we have a Class A diesel pusher motorhome. It's about 40 feet long. And in the 3 years that we have owned our rig, we have been towed twice. The first time happened down in Arizona, where we had a fan hub come apart and our rig overheated. And this was just outside of the Benson area of Arizona. And we had to get towed approximately 8 miles. And then another time just this past summer in the Sturgis area of South Dakota. Now I'll put a link for this whole video because we did document everything that happened up above if you're interested in kind of taking a look at more at what happened and how that whole experience turned out. But after that experience, we really started looking into the whole roadside assistance thing for our RV because there was a gap in what our insurance covered versus what the actual tow bill was because our insurance capped at a certain dollar amount. And we wanted to make sure we were protected and didn't have that issue again, especially if an 8-mile tow bill cost us enough where we had an out-of-pocket amount. We couldn't even imagine what if it had been more than that. So we secured a different roadside assistance plan through Good Sam after that to be able to just kind of have the peace of mind knowing that we would be covered for any roadside assistance. So this past summer, we had a breakdown in the Sturgis, South Dakota area. And now this whole breakdown, we also documented. This was about a 5-day ordeal. So it was 2 different videos that we documented this in, and I'll put a link up above for those 2 videos, and I'll also put a link at the end for those 2 videos as well, because the way that everything unfolded was fairly interesting, and we learned a lot, and probably you can learn quite a bit from this whole scenario that happened too. So want to probably go back and watch those at some point. So there are really 2 things that you need to know right now if you are an RVer or even a van lifer when it comes to roadside assistance. And then we're going to share some tips a little bit later in this video about how to choose a roadside plan that works. So make sure that you watch to the end for those. Now, this is a direct quote from rvtravel.com. The large number of inexperienced new RVers also brings trouble to road help services. It's very frustrating to everyone when so many new RVers are having problems on their very first trip. We're seeing many more calls for technical assistance since many RVers just don't understand how their rig works. That problem is compounded by customers renting RVs from peer-to-peer rental companies. They have zero experience with the RV and they're calling our help centers, adding to the very high call volumes. And here's another quote. Towing charges are going up with the demand for their services, and RVers experiencing breakdowns on their trip can likely expect more delays and more difficulty finding qualified service personnel to get their rigs back on the road. Boy, can we attest to this. When we broke down, I called Good Sam the day before that we needed to be towed. Now, luckily, we found a Good Samaritan that pulled us into a campground itself. And again, there's just so many interesting and miraculous points to the story. You really should just watch the whole saga unfold, and we'll link at the end. But we didn't need to be towed out till the next day, so I gave Good Sam a full 24 hours notice. Well, the next day came, and the time window that they told us that the tow truck would be there, that time window came and went. And So, well, probably just want to show you what happened right here. So when you say you wouldn't be able to get to us this afternoon, would you be able to get to us like yet today, like early evening or?
I got an appointment tomorrow morning.
Okay.
In the meantime, we got busy.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's the height of RV season.
Well, and like, I shouldn't say this, but the sub company they use at Gero is horrible. They will spend hours calling around to see if they can save $10.
Right. Okay. All right. Well,
are you in a campground?
yeah. So here's the situation. I am in a campground, but what we've got is that. So we have a diesel pusher. It's a no start problem. Pretty darn sure it's a fuel delivery issue because I had it at the Boss truck stop in Rapid yesterday. They put a fuel pressure regulator on it and a factory fuel filter. Sent us down the road. We were singing down the road just fine, but as soon as we came to a stop, we died. Couldn't restart it. We were right off of I-90 and there was a campground literally right across the street. So kind of a good Samaritan stopped by that had like a F550 truck and a tow strap and is like, I can at least haul you into the campground. But I have an appointment with Butler Cat in Rapid City for 6 a.m. tomorrow. So I was hoping we could get there and, be in the parking lot then by 6 a.m. tomorrow. So that way we could have them start looking at it. Because, we're from Florida and this isn't like our home base. 2 weeks out and anybody else is like 2 weeks out to be able to get us serviced. And so it's like and of course it's a Cat engine. It really just needs to be looked at by somebody that knows Cat.
It's still the early morning for me. I know that.
Okay.
It's that time of the year. There hasn't been enough tow companies in the area for the volume of people that have hit this year. And
yeah.
We're backed up.
So after we posted this video, the comments started flying in and other people told us where they had very similar issues, where they called for roadside assistance and they never showed up and they left them high and dry. And so we have a few tips now after having experienced this of what you can do to make sure that you get roadside service when you actually need it. So tip number 1, the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, be prepared to be the squeaky wheel. We were told that what happens with Good Sam is that they call several different service providers and they get quotes and they're looking for the cheapest one. Well, what happened in our particular case was that Good Sam had called this particular service provider to get a quote and they didn't just give them the okay to just dispatch them right then and there to come tow us. They started making other phone calls. Well, by the time that then they got around to calling the service provider back and said, yeah, go ahead, because they couldn't find anybody else cheaper, that service provider had already taken a bunch of other calls and then now he couldn't get to us. So if you have called for roadside assistance and they've given you a specific time window or whatever it is that they have given you, make sure that you kind of stay on them to find out, have they actually secured a service provider or are they still playing this game of calling around and trying to find the guy that's going to be $10 than the last guy that they talked to? Tip number 2, speak with that service provider directly and make sure that you have talked to them to confirm the time window of when they're actually going to show up. In our particular case, Good Sam told us that this was going to be the service provider. And then when I got on the phone with him, I got a very different story. So confirm with that service provider that you've been told is going to come out, that the story that you're getting from your roadside company matches the story that you're getting from the service provider regarding the time that they're actually going to show up. Tip number 3, check with your insurance company to see if you potentially have roadside assistance as part of your insurance. After we switched over to Progressive Insurance, we found out that we actually had roadside assistance that covered our motorhome, and it even covered our motorhome in the event we needed to be towed with no out-of-pocket maximums as far as a dollar amount was concerned. That was different than our prior insurance provider that we had when we broke down that time in Arizona. So you don't want to be paying double for something. So double check with your insurance provider to see if the type of roadside coverage that they have for your RV policy covers you for those roadside emergencies as well. Tip number 4, RV dealers are way backed up with repairs. So if you end up needing a repair that is causing you to not be able to move on, right? So this is a repair that your motorhome's not drivable without having had made, or your trailer's not towable without having this repair made. Check with either heavy truck shops if you have a drivable RV, or check with trailer shops if you have a towable RV. We've had very good luck with being able to find service that is able to get us in very, very quickly by using Caterpillar or Freightliner dealers because we have a diesel pusher. Any sort of heavy duty truck shop that works on, say, like UPS or FedEx trucks can usually work on motorhomes as well. And a lot of times different trailer shops that work on, say, horse trailers or utility trailers can also work on the chassis part. So your axles, tires, wheels, brakes of any sort of RV chassis as well. So you'll have to let us know in the comments below what your experience has been with roadside providers and if you've ever had to call roadside assistance for your RV and how that situation turned out. We would love to know in the comments below just what your experience has been, or if you have a roadside company that you're just super happy with. Let us know that in the comments below as well. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you would like to see more videos with really fun places to visit and travel with your RV, check those out right over here. And if you would like to see some of our RV renovation series, if maybe you're considering that or just curious, you can check those out right over here. If we don't see you on the road or at the campground, we'll see you in the next video.